This is the follow-up for my customer Steve's Toyota Supra 2B shaft. So, in the first video I discovered that it was out of phase and speculated that it was because that flange right there might have been it was not put back on the spline on the stub shaft at the same index where it had been taken off. And so I took it apart, obviously took the back section off and took it apart, and that's what I found, that there was one location that lined everything up so that you could bolt the back section back on and have all the U-joints on top dead center at the same time. So that was necessary, and that was progress. So then the next step was, that's a square bolt pattern, and so obviously you could bolt the back section on in any one of four positions, and that's what I did. I hit the worst one first, naturally, and kept indexing around until I found the best one. And so that's where we're at now. I've got weight package tuned up on it, and we'll take a look at that. And then there's a little more to the story that we're going to discuss. And so, crank her up a little bit. That's about 2,700 RPM there. 0 at the transmission. It's a fuzzy 1, maybe 2 at the center bearing, down from a radical 9 or a 10, and it's a 0 at the rear axle. So I'm going to say that that's a win for this. I did do quite a bit of tuning on this with a weight package to get it to where it's at now, and we'll discuss why. Alright, so it's going to be a little history lesson there, so I know you're all on the edge of your seats. Had a famous artist create this rendering overnight. And so this is what we're talking about here. Ford, Dodge, and GM. Why am I talking about 1960s, 70s, and 80s big cars and wagons? And what's tube and tube? Well, this tube here is stuffed inside of this tube, and there's a rubber element like right here, and probably right here. So the way the famous artist depicted it, there's a rubber element. And sometimes the rubber element is just like a big long tube too. The problem with this situation in those cars, and these guys were like monkey see, monkey do. When one of them did something, they all eventually did it. And what happened is they all eventually failed. They were notorious. When I was starting in the drive shaft business, these things were constant. Last summer, quick story, had a guy show up with an immaculate 67 Galaxy 500 ragtop. Beautiful car, 390 big block, gorgeous car. All of the experts, quote unquote, had explanations why his car vibrated. Just needs U-joints, boy, just balance it, blah, blah, blah. There ain't no amount of U-joints or drive balancing was going to fix that thing. I built him a new steel drive shaft to eliminate the tube and tube thing that had timed out. The rubber elements come apart in these things over time, and they deflect like that. I feel that's what's going on here. When I had the weights taped on this thing was absolutely dead flat 0, and it was just like whoosh. It changed just putting the weights on it, just tacking them on. I called it too. I knew it was going to. I talked to Steve when I had the weights taped on it, and I was just going to proceed and tack them on, and that's exactly what happened, is what I thought was going to happen. And that's just a little bit of an explanation of what the tube and tube thing is. I don't want to put too sharp of a point on it. I'm not picking on Steve or Toyota or anybody. I'm just trying to explain what's going on here. Little short drive shaft. This thing's 43 inches long, center, with a center bearing and all this other stuff rotating around, whizzing around underneath there, is unnecessary. I'm pretty surprised Toyota did that. Definitely, I believe this car would benefit from a one-piece shaft. Pretty sure I got slip yokes that fit the transmission. I know I got pinion flanges that fit the rear axle. Done this in some of the other cars that use the same transmission. I believe the other, maybe Mazdas and things like that. Pretty surprised they did that in this configuration. Will he get some drivability out of this? Yes, I'm pretty sure. Is it going to be forever? I hate saying it, but I don't think so. So going to pass this back to Steve, and hopefully everybody's fully informed.